Depending on your car and which configuration you have, either 4 or 5 modules, we're gonna need to compress parts of this enclosure. So I'll show you that here. We're gonna just kind of start and go left to right. The first thing is right here. We might need to push all of this area down if it doesn't fit in your car. That's optional. Basically, if you take a line here and draw it through, you need to push that part down. So next we're gonna take this ruler and make sure that we have the center line of this hole, and we're gonna put our 0 on the ruler here, and we're gonna go to 370 millimeters, and we're gonna draw a line right here. And on this one, on the 60S, we have to push this down, and on the 48S, we're gonna push this down only if it doesn't fit. Next, we're gonna keep our center line here at 0, and from here all the way over, we're going to press this down. Our next spot, we're gonna take our ruler here and we're gonna move it, and we're gonna use this as our center line here. So we'll put our 0 there, and we need to go up to 70 millimeters here. So on the 60S, we have to flatten all of this out. So always on 60S, on the 48S, we only have to do this small part right here if it doesn't fit. And then on the 60S, we have one more part here. So we'll go ahead and put our 0 back here, and we're gonna mark at 330 and 380 millimeters. We are going to push that down as well. We will do the 48S first, and we will actually just put this in the 48S car, and if the cover fits, you're good to go. You can just put it on, you don't need to collapse anything. In the 60S car, we always need to push this down and we always need to push that down, so we might as well do that. And then we can put it in, and only if it doesn't fit, we can push the rest of this piece down right here. So we'll go ahead and get set up for that. We'll put it in the car, and then we'll make our arbor press changes that we need to. This car uses 5 FoMoCo modules, so it's the 60S configuration. So we're gonna start by pushing this rib all the way down with the arbor press. If you don't have an arbor press, you can do this with a hammer. It's just not gonna look as pretty. With an arbor press, you can literally just go in and press that down. With a hammer, that's gonna be a little more difficult to do. So we're gonna just keep pushing this down. You could take a straight edge and just kind of make sure, yeah, that's way down, probably way more than it needed to be. We need to push this down just a little bit more. And we'll take our straight edge here, and that probably needs to come down just a hair more. That's looking pretty good there. And so now we're gonna take and rotate this all the way around. On the 60S, we have to push this down. It doesn't need to go down as much as the other side. So you probably just need 3 or 4 millimeters right there. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. And then if you put this in the car and this doesn't fit, you can also push that down. That's an optional one. So here's the top side where we just pressed this down, and you can see it's slightly visible here. We probably pushed this down a little more than we needed to, but certainly not bad. Once you put the carpet on, you won't see it. Now we're gonna test fit the top cover, and before we do so, we need to make sure these orange caps are installed because we don't wanna short each of these bus bars out onto that top enclosure. So once we've verified those orange caps are installed, we're gonna just take our cover and set it on top here. This lip should line up with the hole in the IMA junction board. When you look down here, you should be able to see that the hole in the top cover lines up with the PEMsert, the threaded nut that's in there. This should go all the way down. You should see right here that the hole goes all the way down to the side of the IMA enclosure. So once we've verified this fits, we'll take it back out so we can attach the felt stripping. We need to attach these 3 felt pieces to the inside of this top cover. And so to do that, we're gonna put some marks on here. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna once again find the center line of these 3 holes right here. So I've put this edge kind of on that center line. And then I'm going to take and come over to one side here and put this on that center line. And I'm going to put marks at 20 and 70 millimeters, 20 and 70. And I'm also going to put marks at 330 and 380 millimeters. And I'm going to repeat this over on the other side as well, so same center line. So we're going to do 20 and 70 millimeters, and then also 330 to 380 millimeters as well. And if you'd like, you can run an edge on one side just to help you align your felt. So when we apply the felt, we're going to apply it between the marks in both this location and that location. And it needs to cover this entire ridge here. So the felt should at least cover over to there, and same over here, it should at least cover over to there. So we'll take each felt strip now and we'll remove the backer. So I'm going to go like this and just kind of push that guy down. And finally, we'll take this smaller piece of felt and it's going to go right here. So if you find this small ridge right there, this rib right here is where it's going to go. And we need this to kind of bottom out in the rib like you're putting a liner in a bathtub or something. So I'm going to start here and just push it down. Now we'll reinstall this back in the car. So we'll put the IMA top cover back on, this time for good. Make sure this tab is on top of the junction board's mating tab. Make sure these holes all push down still all the way. If this cover is sticking up for some reason, it's probably the USB cable underneath. Possible other reasons would be if there was a cable sitting on top of here, the top cover is not going to have enough room. So you do need to make sure all these top cables are cleared out of the way. Once we verify this fits, we can install all of the bolts and leave them loose. So notice here that I was only able to do 3 of these bolts on the left and 3 on the right. All of the other bolts that used to go in and screw into the top of the OEM IMA battery no longer have anything else to screw into, so we just won't put those screws back in. We will, however, put the screw back in that goes into the junction board here. Now that we have all the bolts loosely installed, we'll reinstall the aluminum cross member. And then we'll install these 6 bolts that connect the IMA top cover to this aluminum cross member. Now that we have all the bolts installed, we can go ahead and tighten them all. Now that we have the cover installed, we need to put one final sticker on here, and it says contains aftermarket lithium battery, linsight.org for service instructions. We're going to take this label and we're going to find on the top cover where it says this 140 volt nickel metal hydride battery requires a special handling and disposal process. And we are going to cover that with this sticker right here so that anyone who services this in the future has some indication of what's inside of here. And all we need to do now is turn our IMA switch on, and that's the complete FoMoCo LiBCM hardware install.